Hey, everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Curation Live. I am Polydub. And as always, I am joined by Jack from Bad Comic Reviews.
Hello.
And the recently unveiled Pink Okami Bastard Inquisitor 8.1.
Yeah. So what about it?
I don't know. I just didn't know you were a commie. It was news to me.
Don't say anything bad. I'll send you to Siberia.
Yeah. I've got the Gulag trains with your name on it, Polly.
Well, I really don't believe that you're a full-on commie, but it's too rich of a comedy gold mine to not make fun of. I have to do something with it. So I labeled this stream a good bad week for Comicsgate because we were talking about just before we went live. It's been a hell of a week in between Comics Pros and Comicsgate independent publishers or independent writers and artists. Like, my God, shit's hit the fan, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, no, shit hasn't hit the fan. Shit hit the camera with one of the stories we'll get into.
Yeah. Let's try and start at the beginning of the recent explosion of nuttery around it. It would happen with the weaponization of a widow's grief. Would you agree?
Yeah.
I think that really kicked it off, yeah.
So some comic skater out there, I brought up his account on Twitter, made a comment that this guy, were he still alive, would side with Comicsgate. Bunch of SJWs, we're assuming, kind of approached his widow, hadn't been on her account in 2 years at this point, hadn't posted anything in 2 years,
something
and said,
like that.
Do you know that these racists, these bigots, these sexists are saying that your dead husband would have been down with them in their racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic ways? And then she gets on Twitter and posts for the first time, disavowing that and saying, no, that's not the case. And yeah, all these comic book pros start, comics are for everyone, becomes the tweet storm. These people who don't collude together and aren't part of secret Facebook private groups, at all, planning this stuff out. It doesn't happen like that. All decide to start tweeting out the same thing over the weekend. Comics are for everyone, not for racist, sexist, bigot, homophobes, transphobes as well, because Mags Visaggio is up in every single thread regarding this.
Oh my God, an attention whore getting all the attention? What?
Yeah.
Mags? No.
Yeah. So I don't know. And then I think it reached its crescendo when from the DC imprint Vertigo, there's a certain new issue coming out with somebody who's all our favorite, Zoe Quinn, writing a comic book called Goddess Mode, which I'm sure is going to be excellent and take the industry by storm. The artist for Goddess Mode is Robbie Rodriguez. And to show his disgust with Comicsgate in general and Ethan Van Sciver in particular, he tweeted out a picture of his asshole. Literally. More than one. People make it sound like it was just one picture. It was more than one. Out on Twitter, we were talking to somebody, one of our friends, Zelthor, in Discord before. He goes, you mean by DMs, right? And it's like, no, man, just tweeted it out for everyone to see.
Not only that, is that he has a lot of followers too, and all of those followers immediately saw butthole.
Yeah, that's a shocking level of
Well, that would technically be sexual harassment.
If Ethan still worked at DC, it absolutely would.
No, I mean by Twitter's service guidelines. Your unsolicited sex pictures are sexual harassment.
Yeah, I guess.
And even if, as a former employee, doing that to someone that's a fireable offense, in my opinion. I would fire his ass.
Well, of all the comic book companies out there, the only one that I know of that has an official social media policy in terms of how you deal with what you can and can't do and the way you should conduct yourself on social media is DC. And this guy working for a DC imprint does this. His reprimand so far has been nothing.
No, it's not going to be either. They took 3 weeks to release a statement when Eddie Berganza was accused of sexual harassment of some of the women that he worked with, and they didn't fire him right away. Then even it took almost a month. So they're not going to do anything about this because this to them is even lower on the totem pole of caring.
Yeah.
And then just to correct you, Alterna has a media guidelines as well.
They do actually, which is something I wanted to talk about. Jamal Eigel's response to Alterna's their guidelines, which they're like rules of thumb, not so much rules, but I think they're still, it establishes what you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah,
on social media, like when you're
sending pictures of your butthole to legends in the comic industry.
Have you ever heard that thing? There's a reason there's no such rule as no elephants in church.
I've heard that.
It's an old thing inside of historical studies of historiographical methodology. Why is it that there's no rule, no elephants in church? Because nobody ever tried to bring an elephant into church. That's how you know.
So if it's kind of common sense too.
Well, but the idea of being in research that if you come across a rule against something, it's because somebody tried to do it. That it's one of those indicators in history, right? Would anybody ever conceive you may not send people pictures of your asshole? Like, why would there ever be a rule against that? Like, I don't think anybody would conceive that anybody would attempt that until Robbie Rodriguez got involved.
To be fair, I would have conceived of that, but I'm a dirty pervert, and I would try and be working at an Asian porn studio. So, hey, ladies.
Then it's just, portfolios for work.
True. Maybe he's auditioning. You know
what's interesting is that I just realized, like, that or earlier today, that comic book team of Zoe Quinn and Robbie Rodriguez, I've seen both their assholes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I really wish I hadn't seen
Zoe Quinn, and both of them intentionally. They wanted people to see both their assholes, which is
I don't get that.
No. Weird. Zoe Quinn didn't want you to see her asshole. At the time, it got leaked. That was the big thing. Because remember, she was all about, oh no, my nudes have been leaked. Never minding the fact that she did a photo shoot for Suicide Girls. No, they got leaked.
Yeah, I was really opposed to her describing them as getting leaked. It's like, no, you signed a contract to do nude photography. You got paid for it. You released those photos through your legal contract. I mean, what? Nothing was. Your boyfriend didn't steal them off your phone. What are you talking about?
Right.
She didn't want anyone to see them for free, Mustafa says. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's part of it. You're sort of like trading material you should have paid for. But at that point, they're not really hers anymore. It's Suicide Girls that was getting ripped off. It was their property.
I don't know why they would, I guarantee you they've lost more subscribers than they have gained just by having her show up naked for hove her way into the field view of a camera.
And her tweet over this blew me away. Zoe Quinn's, I mean. Hey, anti-Comicsgate people, come on over and help our cousins in the comic book industry.
Yeah,
and
it's calling for all the Gamergate advocates to come over and fight against the evil Nazis.
Yeah,
in comics.
With their only weapon, buttholes. I don't understand that.
Hoping that all of the media assets that she has contact with, that Kotaku and everyone else is going to write an article on this. That's obviously the call. It's like, you guys helped me out before, right? Like, everybody said that I was like a poor innocent victim in all of this. Not like I was fucking everybody on the block to promote my shitty text game or anything. Like, no.
With how much everyone seems to like her, I'm surprised that Anita Sarkeesian hasn't sent anyone her butthole. That would make some.
Let's not go giving anyone ideas.
Let's not talk about buttholes anymore. Christ, this is. Well, actually, we have to talk about buttholes a little bit more.
They are comic-related buttholes. Does that count?
Well, yeah. You did want to talk about the DC stream, and yeah,
Yes.
that's when shit got interesting.
Okay, so DC did a live stream on their YouTube channel hosted by Kevin Smith, and they were getting bombarded by people, mostly Comicsgaters, asking about the Butthole Gate, or Anus Gate, as I'm calling it. It's been decided. And they started muting and blocking people for it. And then they took the stream down and reposted it without the chat. And from what I understand, they disabled comments as well.
On Umbrella Guy's stream earlier today, he pulled it up and had his video titled, "The DC stream has been taken down." And as he's doing his live stream, they put it back up. And he's like, "Oh, holy shit, it's actually back up. Well, what's going on?" And then he looks and it's like, "Oh, the comments are gone though. They couldn't there were so many comments going on. Like John Malin was in there, everybody was in it. Just the Comicsgaters descended upon that stream and we're like, so why is Robbie Rodriguez still working for you guys after doing something like that?"
Yeah. Well, they got comments back up, but they've taken down the like to dislike ratio.
Yeah, I'll bet. And it's, poor Kevin Smith, he's sitting there trying to do his Fat Man on Batman routine, and there's all this Anus Gate stuff rolling up beside his face the whole time he's talking.
I feel so bad for Kevin Smith sometimes. Like he's such a pure soul. He doesn't need this. But at the same time, he's been embroiled in it. And, if DC is so willing to get Kevin Smith to come on and do stuff like this, why not have him go and finish off his Batman series? I mean, The Widening Gyre has been out for almost a decade now, I think. Just have him write comic books again and don't have him, dance like a monkey. He's already been through enough.
One of the things like around Anus Gate and everything, like, seriously, what other fucking industry could it be? I realize lots of other people said this, but they're so right. What other industry could you publicly send out a picture where you're identifying yourself as, I work for DC Comics, I'm proud to work for DC Comics, and then send somebody a picture of your asshole and say, fuck you, buddy, I hate your guts, and not unsolicited?
Well, to be absolutely fair to, he's not working for DC. He's working for Vertigo, and Vertigo is technically different from DC. Different people running the show on Vertigo than there are at DC.
No, because it's only an imprint. An imprint is still owned by DC.
It is, but there's entirely different people that like contract out and get the talent for Vertigo books.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're it's like franchising. If you're running a McDonald's, you can still lose your job because you spoke ill of the clown.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they shouldn't, or they shouldn't discipline Robbie Rodriguez. Oh man, that sounds bad.
They're gonna give him a spanking
for his actions. They absolutely should. But at the same time, I don't think it's very fair to a lot of the people at DC, namely the people that I didn't see coming out in either support or against that sort of thing. DC have been doing worse than they had been before with this sort of thing, but I think that they still have a chance to come back. Marvel is just so far gone.
Yeah. Well, Marvel's probably too far down the spiral to be pulled out, but like you said, DC's got a chance, but they have to respond to this quickly. The longer they wait, the more their sales are going to drop because people don't like this.
Yeah, people don't.
Even people that aren't Comicsgaters.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah, no one wants an unsolicited butthole pick unless you're into that. And when they don't say anything about it, addressing the actions of somebody that clearly does work for them, they run the risk of the bad press that they got with Eddie Berganza and other incidences like that over the years. And it makes you look like you endorse and condone it, which means it's going to happen more. Other people think they can get away with stuff. And then you're going to have them running roughshod over all of the management because the precedent has to be set now as close as the incident is, or you're going to have people saying, well, you let this guy get away with it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit.
No, it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. they do need to get out in front of it, and I'm sincerely hoping that DC do. They're the only one of the big two that's actually still got some goodwill with their customer base. So
yeah. Well, they better get on it, because this time's running out for them before people start realizing that this is acceptable to them. That's why I've been on about it on Twitter, because they need to hurry up and make a measured response really quickly. And they're already 4 days behind this, because this happened over the weekend. They had plenty of time to formulate a statement and put it out there, and they should have fired him immediately for it.
Yeah.
Whatever he's got done, awesome. You can hire another fill-in artist to pick it up. It's
who's actually going to buy that book anyway?
Yeah, well, everybody's replaceable, so
yeah. I'll say it's no less jarring than any other time it happens, in a comic book series where you see, the artists get replaced halfway into the run.
Yeah, they replace them every other issue half the time, especially look at Action Comics is a mess for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you're going to be suddenly shocked they switched artists on you. Even if it was halfway through an issue, I'd be like, yeah, okay, it figures.
See, what kills me about this is I'm reading Rich Johnston's article on from Bleeding Cool on it's not even an article. All he does is grab every single iteration of Comics Are For Everyone tweets and pastes them all together and calls it an article. So everybody went after Comicsgate, apparently revealing the strong opinion of professionals in the industry, just what they think of Comicsgate. And it's like, this guy is such a fucking shill. Like, he makes me, shill's not right. Like, it's just like, I will be your ventriloquist dummy. What do you want me to say?
He's one of those little yes men toadies that you see in companies that's always trying to get ahead by just licking the ass of everybody that's near him.
We cannot get off of buttholes tonight.
No, we cannot.
I was gonna say, it's like someone sticking their hand up his ass and puppeteering him.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm just reading the comments that are underneath it, and it's a lot of people saying, "That's right, get out of here, Gators. We have no room for your hate here." And it's like, who's calling who a Nazi 35 times a day?
Mm-hmm.
There's what are the two things about Comicsgate? Write good stories, keep your social justice bullshit, like quit force feeding me your social justice bullshit, i.e., write good stories, and don't call the fans Nazis. Those are the only two things that Comicsgaters want. Stop calling me fucking names and harassing me because I don't like your fucking social justice bullshit. Smuggling an identitarian message in the form of a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's exactly it. I mean, that's what I jumped on, was the fact that, everyone's sitting there saying Nazi, 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 Nazi. And I'm sitting there going like, that's not, reflective of who or what I am. It doesn't matter, Nazi. I'm like, okay, well then I'm not going to buy your comic book.
It goes back to what I've been saying for months now. Comic books have become chick tracts, and the more they scream Nazi at someone, it sounds just like heretic. That's all it is. They've got a religious message they're pushing. They're fundamentalists about it, and no matter what you do, if you don't completely agree with their stance, you are a heretic.
What are you trying to say here, Jack? I ain't no chick tract writer here, but I use heretic all the time.
Well, then you know what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. They're just stealing my shtick is what they're doing.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's all they do is steal ideas from other people anyway.
The comments, like I said, a bunch of people like, yeah, what the hell? Comics are not for everyone. It's a creator's vision / point of view, just like any other form of entertainment. If you don't like a TV show, don't watch it. If you don't like a movie, don't go see it. If you don't like a song, don't listen to it. Stop bitching on social media and let people who don't agree with you and have your opinions live their lives. And it's like, no one's not letting them live their life. This idea, it's like you're making an argument for it's this creator's vision. He's doing what he wants. And it's this critic's opinion to make a YouTube video. If you don't like it, stop fucking listening to them. Clearly, you've been listening to Comicsgate videos and reading their tweets, if you even know what they're bitching about.
No,
So
those are hate facts. See, you're too close to reality on that. They don't like that.
Do you see what I mean, though? It's like you're saying if you don't like it, don't read it. Okay, then why are you reading Comicsgate stuff? Why are you even following what they're talking about if they upset you so much?
These people are degenerates with daddy issues, and they can't let go. Like, once they're mad about something, they're probably just unhappy in their lives, and they're looking for somebody to yell at.
You know, and
that's all it seems to me.
If you don't like a movie, don't go see it. Oh, like Soilo? We didn't.
Yeah, well, that wasn't approved by the oversight committee. See, that's just that. Comics are for everyone that agrees with them, because they don't want us in the comics movement. They just want our money. They don't want us as readers or fans. They make that clear every day on Twitter. They don't want us around.
Replacement theory. No, they do want us around. They just want us around silently, because replacement theory is very clear about it. We have a base readership of X amount, and then we're going to completely change the character over to, let's say, female Thor, for example, one amongst many. And it's like, so we'll have that base readership, plus we'll bring in this phantom audience of female readers that don't feel represented. So then we'll have X readership plus the new one. And it's like, yeah, but it hasn't panned out like that. Every single comic book that you've done that to, its sales have dropped or you've canceled it. You're spawning the very movement that you claim you're so angry at in terms of the professionals. And the argument here is like, if you don't like it, don't go see it in terms of a movie. Or if you don't like the comic book, don't read it. Okay, we don't. Like, that's why Iceman failed. Like, Iceman failed. That's why America Chavez failed.
They're upset because they don't support their own industries. They don't have that phantom audience coming in and buying stuff. And we're not automatically jumping on board with whatever they're doing. So I get it, but at the same time, like, they still don't want to hear any input. There will be no feedback. Disagreement has been disallowed. Go sit down, you witch, or we'll burn you. I don't know. I'm just pissed off by the whole thing because I'm tired of getting shit on all the time.
Yeah.
And if DC doesn't want my money, that's cool too.
I think that's the major crux that they're not seeing is the fact that it's not. I can't remember who it was on Twitter the other day that brought it up. But there's you got the Comicsgate people, the people that are actually vocal about this kind of thing. They're voicing their displeasure, saying, "Hey, this stuff isn't cool. So knock it off." And they're denigrated as Nazis, right? Mm-hmm. But what about the tons, and I would say, infinitely more audience that has just been simply turned off from the comic because of this bullshit and have been silent about it?
Yeah.
I know for a fact that a buddy of mine used to be really, really, really into Thor and Hulk. He stopped collecting a decade ago and hasn't said a single word.
Yeah. Yeah, after I shut my shop down, it took me about 6 months to drop every title I had on my list, and I just quit reading comics completely. And I came back a couple years ago, and already I'm considering going back to not buying any. Mm-hmm. They don't put into their calculations that if they lose the existing customer base, they also lose the future customer base, because most readers are in their 30s and 40s now. And they have kids. If they don't get their kids in it, this industry is dead in 10 years either way.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing is, like, I don't ever want to see it get to the point where Marvel and DC go away. They're too culturally important.
I agree, but they're committing suicide, and it's a slow burn. It's like watching a drug addict.
Yeah,
slowly getting worse and worse.
That's actually a really damn good comparison. Yeah, it's like watching a heroin addict slowly kill themselves.
Yep. Yeah, the industry is emaciated. It's sick. It's addicted to its own
farts.
Press. Yeah. Oh man, back to the buttholes.
If somebody wants to run it, if somebody wants to run an experiment, you can check this out for yourself. Go to Google or whatever search engine you use and type in the name of any major news organization that has a strong presence online. So that would be New York Times, CNN, NBC, and the like. Type in the name of that news agency followed by comic book. look at all the stories that are press releases, like we're coming out with this, we're going to do this, this is a new thing that we're doing, or this is, whatever. 8 of the 10 stories that'll come up are all the firsts. The first gay, bisexual, trans, handicapped woman comic book. The first transsexual or transgender wedding, and like Batgirl 45. This is what they promote. It's clear, like, they don't reach out to media assets, to friendly media people that they know, unless they're doing a promotional push. And the media themselves, like in terms of, like, let's say it's New York Times, they're it's like, well, what are you contacting us for? Like, has Spider-Man reached number 700 and it's like coincidentally like the 80th anniversary of Spider-Man or whatever? Like, there's some kind of like what's the angle here? Well, the angle is that it's the first blah 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 blah, like, and even when they need to make stuff up, like, this is the first transgender superhero, then you got Gail Simone coming in going, no, not actually, like, it's it doesn't matter, shut up, let us just let us have this, let us pretend this is the way that it is, because it's part of a promotional push. My point being is that you see how they relate to the media, and you see what they think is important, like going on at Marvel, that this is what they're going to put their time and their energy behind. Spider-Man is a comic book series. Like, when you go to Comic-Con and you see what's selling, Batman is still selling huge. X-Men is still selling big. Spider-Man, of course. Those are just the accepted, understood influxes of money that they expect are going to come in, but they don't give a fuck about it. Not really. But all of their promotional energy and time on Twitter, every fucking professional just spends all their time defending, Mags Visaggio and fucking the like, when it's like, she's not even working on huge stuff for you guys. Like, she's not even like a major title person, but look how much fucking energy you spend defending this woman.
Yeah, they don't put anything into promoting their books. It's all events that they promote, just like you said. It's never, hey, we got to get kids into this. Hey, we got these awesome stories we're going to tell you. This is great for family, and you could read to your kids. No, they don't do anything like that. There used to be, when I was a kid, there was a read to your kid program, and they'd give you comic books to do that with. And you could sit there with your kid and read together. And they don't do anything like that anymore. They haven't done that in 30 years. And they don't give out free comic books at the door for, like, an Avengers Infinity War that would get people into it. They don't support their own industry. If they were smart, they'd do cross promotionals like that and turn it into a cash cow. Well, because if Disney was smart, they'd try and make money off of it.
It's funny you mentioned that, because you plucked the thought right out of my brain. I was just about to say, Comicsgaters, in terms of criticisms of what's going on in the industry, like the incompetence of, like, what the fuck is with these people? What are they doing? The cross promotion, the absence of cross promotion. Like, let me see if I get this straight. Superhero films are like $1 and $2 billion with a B dollar enterprises going on. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is explosive. Advertising for your comic books and the characters, the IPs, like nothing else. And Marvel comic books, the money's not coming out of your pocket. That's coming out of a separate entity, Marvel Studios, to make those films. So in other words, it's a form, if you will, of free advertising for the intellectual properties that you own the licenses to create comics around. And you spend your time on Gay Iceman and America Chavez. What in the fuck?
Yeah, it's just business 101 is lost on these people.
It's amazing. Like, Iron Man is, in my opinion, probably the centerpiece of the entire MCU. And what do? Riri Williams.
Yep.
What
Girl
the hell?
Yeah,
Girl Thor, right? Yeah.
And Girl Wolverine.
Yeah, and Hulk becomes a completely different person. It's not even Bruce Banner anymore.
Yeah, and they have no concept of people aren't going to like this, or you're going to confuse people. You got to keep it simple. It's not that hard.
I'm amazed that they're not. You don't have, like, really smart business people. You have people with a vision that want to create a lifestyle brand. That's their interest.
Yeah, I still don't understand the lifestyle brand thing. What the fuck does that even mean? Am I going to wear some Iron Man jammies? I don't know what they're trying to sell me here.
Yep, they're selling you some jammies. They're gonna make some Hulk cookie cutters, you know, because there's so many of them. They'll give you some radioactive spider popcorn to go with your MCU. Yeah, next time you.
First of all, here's a free one, Marvel. Give me kickbacks in comic books so I don't have to pay for your crap. Radioactive Spider-Man glow sticks.
There you go.
Shaped like spiders.
So I'm reading Jamal Eigel's Twitter, because this guy is like, he's not working anymore. Not really. He works with Ahoy Comics. So, you know, top of the industry, this guy.
Yeah.
And here he is criticizing Alterna Comics, which, man, leave Alterna alone is my call. What are you doing? You know, they have their social media code of conduct available, and it's, you are required and encouraged to actively promote your title on social media. Makes sense. We do not.
Oh, sorry.
You notice that it says you are required and encouraged to criticize Donald Trump at least every third tweet on social media. God damn, like it's mind blowing. But we'll get to that in just a quick second. We do not condone the use of block bots, blind blocking, blockchains, or any other kind of program or practice that is used to block thousands of people blindly en masse. We acknowledge that unpleasant experiences through social media sadly do occur, and creators can block/mute individuals if they have had some unwarranted or poor experiences with them. But due to the fact that you would, in part, as part of a creative team at Alterna and a team of retailers, would need to be able to confidently sell your comics to as many people as possible. You mean calling whole swaths of people Nazis and blocking motherfuckers left, right, and center through the use of a fucking program just to stick it to one guy that other people happen to be following? Like, what the? This is madness. This is so. This is
confused.
Yeah. We do want all of our readers and our creators to feel welcome, like is the way that it ends. So Jamal Eigel responds to this with, I'm sorry, Alterna Comics, but as someone who does social media marketing occasionally professionally, that's grammatically incorrect, but whatever. This is wrong.
What? Yeah, it is wrong, because that sentence doesn't word good.
No, marketing occasionally professionally. On occasion professionally, you ignoramus. I understand.
He's colonizing English.
I understand you're trying to sell your product, but this blanket quote, "will handle the trolls, just don't block them," end quote, doesn't work.
So what? Well, I get trolled all the time. Who fucking cares?
Tell us what works then, Mr. I'm a better social media than you.
Well, this tweet actually bleeds on into the second one, this is the point where I'm like, I was saying to you guys for this, like, how can these people be this unself-aware? Okay, your creators shouldn't be burdened with having to deal with customer service. That's the company roles, not theirs. Okay, hold on. You're, in fact, making it more difficult for them to have a separation between their work and personal lives that they may choose to have. You motherfucker, are you fucking kidding me? They purposely, all these fucking pros blend their personal lives. They're ranting about fucking Trump and Republicans and whatever the fuck else they're feeling at the fucking moment under the fucking bio that they have, that they're an official DC artist or they're a Marvel artist or whatever. They're purposely blending it to give them a wider megaphone because people sub to them because they're Dan Slott.
Yeah, if you want to have a separate account, that's one thing. Be like, all right, I'm Green Lantern 5589 or whatever, and I'm gonna spew my personal shit over here, guys. This is for my friends and stuff. But if you're a public figure, which these people are minor public figures, then you have to present your material. You're talking about your art and stuff like that. Don't blend the two. Don't say you work at DC Comics if you're going to have your own name on your account. Don't involve yourself in it. But they do that. They mix them together, and it's just so stupid. These people are idiots.
But is that not part of the lifestyle brand that what's her name was promoting?
That's what I would have understood. I mean,
that it's a given political bent, it's a given cosmopolitan attitude, it's a worldview, it's a lifestyle brand. You know, and she said you could come here and she actually mentions children in that. And it's like, I realize that's Marvel, not DC, but like, you don't want children seeing some man's hairy butthole.
You know what? Somebody needs to go online and get that butthole image with the star on it, photoshopped on it, and write lifestyle brand right on the star.
That's fucking brilliant. That's fucking brilliant. Well, I know what I'll be doing after the stream.
Yeah, he did work for Marvel. He's the co-creator of Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, I was gonna say Spider-Gwen.
Right. Here's your lifestyle brand.
Yeah, or better yet, put Spider-Gwen's face right above lifestyle brand on that star.
Oh no! You gotta go full Frank Cho on it, and not only have Spider-Gwen, but also have outrage over it.
He goes on with this, like it bleeds on to a third tweet, but I feel the need to say it again. You're in fact making it more difficult for them, i.e. the pros, to have a separation between their work and personal lives they may choose to have. How many of them choose to have it? I absolutely agree that if they should choose to have a personal life separate from their professional, they should be totally allowed to. Let's say that they did have a separate personal tweet and company business oriented Twitter account. I don't think you're supposed to have two Twitter accounts, but whatever. You know, they've got this separation. If a whole bunch of cocksuckers started showing up at their personal Twitter account, I'd be like, dude, that's not cool. They don't talk comics there. What are you doing?
Yeah, because if you're having, it's so frustrating because you're supposed to be a professional. That has a meaning to it. The word professional. Act like one. So irritating.
He goes on, and again, I know you feel like you shouldn't alienate anyone. That said, you're basically giving license to trolls to be abusive with this quote policy. You're giving license? No, they say block or mute anybody that you've had a bad experience with. Cool. Yeah. They're saying don't mass block people because we're trying to reach as wide of an audience as possible.
And let's be real, trolls don't need your permission.
No, that's the core guiding principle of trolling is the fact that they don't ask for your consent to troll you.
Yeah. They're the internet rapists.
Trolls are internet rapists.
I'm just scrolling through to find this other tweet, but I'm having so much trouble making it through all of the stuff about Trump.
Right. But what gets me is Alterna actually does pretty good books. I've liked almost everything I bought from them. You know why? Because it's $1.50. And if I hate it, I'm out $1.50. And I haven't hated anything yet. It's all been at least readable.
Oh, yeah. After that, I've scrolled way past it. You should go look it up. He takes a shot at them for their a sideways, in my opinion, shot at Alterna. Because he's like, the printing back in the 90s was absolute crap. It's not just about the quality of the writing and the quality of the art. It's also the quality of the presentation. And he sent that out immediately after his criticism of their social media policy.
What a dickbag. Like, okay, yeah, their print quality is not the best sometimes. So what? It's $1.50. You know what? I don't want to pay $5 for trash, but I'll pay $1.50 for something that might be trash. You know, it might be. I'm not guaranteed anything, but I could guarantee that 90% of the time I grab something off the Marvel section, it's going to be trash and piss me off. And the ink will come off on my hands for free. Never had the newsprint ink come off on my hand yet, although that used to be a feature of that. But it's gotten a lot better. I don't know what that guy's talking about. He's an idiot and an asshole for saying that and taking a cheap shot like that. They do good work at Alterna. I'm real happy with their stuff. And I will continue to support them with my money as long as they're not charging me $5 for a political message disguised as a religious text. I am very angry about this.
So, okay, here it is. Okay, well, I don't want to. We've been going on with this stuff for a while, but fuck it, it's a Comicsgate stream. We can do this. Jamal Igle, again, some brilliance from the man. It's not just about numbers alone. It's about content as well. Oh, really, Jamal? DC and Marvel are primarily in the superhero intellectual property development business. That's their bread and butter. That said, the healthier areas of comics all have more diversity of content and diversity of voices.
Yeah.
What do you don't want a diversity of voices, man. You want people that follow your lifestyle brand.
Exactly. And I've read their so-called superhero books. They don't do a lot of superheroing. They do a lot of standing around talking about food. I have learned more about people's eating habits in the Marvel Universe in the last 6 months than in the 30 years prior.
So here's the part you'll get a kick out of having run a comic store, okay? The direct market served its purpose for a time. We really need to think beyond just specialty stores if we're going to make the same inroads as the Scholastics and the Seconds of the publishing world with new readers. This is somebody who's been watching Comicsgate comics sales on Indiegogo. This is somebody who's thinking about maximizing the Scholastics thing, where somebody like-minded running a library or a network of libraries will buy those comics. The direct marketing thing, you've seen how many comic book shops have shut down. You know this bullshit of yours is strangling the industry off. In my opinion, that's what would generate somebody tweeting this kind of bullshit out.
Yeah, what got me was that whenever somebody says that, the direct market is good to a point. Comic stores were doing better when they had the direct market and newsstands were selling books, because if you missed an issue on the newsstand, you would go to a comic shop. The newsstand would drive people to the comic shops. The average newsstand would get maybe 20 titles, on a nice one, and that was inconsistent because they didn't get the same 20 titles every month. Or every week, so like you would miss an issue of Spider-Man, especially when it was bi-monthly during the summer. So you would have to go to a comic shop or a Diamond distributor to go get those issues. They don't do that anymore. So if the comic shop dries up, you have nowhere to get comics.
Yep.
On to kind of like wrap up like our discussion of this, I did call it a good bad week for Comicsgate. So what's the good part? All of the attention.
Yeah.
And all of the bad attention from all the right people. All the right people are angry, and it's great. It's like Zach going on the Jeff Jeffries show from Diversity in Comics. It's like, well, they're gonna lambast you. Yeah, let them.
Yeah, he gained like 5,000 subscribers out of that.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, is that their video on YouTube got ratioed to hell and back,
and they took it down.
Mm-hmm.
The comments were just, wow, we should not have stepped in that piranha pool. Yeah, you shouldn't have, because you didn't know what you were getting into. And the I don't know if you guys watch Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's network, and there's a number of shows on there, one of them being Andrew Klavan. And Andrew Klavan's show is the second most watched after Ben Shapiro's. Well, Ethan Van Sciver recorded an interview with Klavan today. And,
oh, really?
Yeah. And he was talking about it. He said, I'll be on there at 2:15 p.m. Van Sciver sort of misunderstood. He thought it was going to be a live broadcast when no, you were just recording it. And then it's going to be used in a later show. So it might be on Klavan's show tomorrow or Monday, that kind of thing. Or Tuesday, who knows, But I was watching the Klavan show because I wanted to see Van Sciver on this show that I've watched. I've watched Klavan show. It's not my favorite, but I've watched it.
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
Yeah, he's got the whole wordsmithing thing down. He's a pretty sarcastic guy, And man, the whole chat was just, where's EVS? Uncle Ethan now. What's going on? It's getting close to the end of the show. Where's Uncle Ethan? Like so like the fans showed up. Fans of this guy of Ethan Van Sciver showed up, but it's the widening of the audience. You're just bringing more and more attention to this thing, and you're Streisanding affecting the fuck out of this. You know that, right? Like, so this is what I mean when I say it's a good week for Comicsgate with all of this stuff, because Van Sciver, and I really hope that he brings this up in this interview, is the butthole thing, where where it's like, are they really that nasty to fans and that nasty on Twitter? The man sent me a picture of his asshole. Like, I can't imagine. Yeah. I can't imagine conservative Christian Andrew Klavan's reaction to that. He's going to be, hold on, what? Like, you mean like he mooned you, like with his butt crack? No. His anus. Like, you
want to see the picture? Well, and what gets me is if by the time that airs, if DC hasn't responded, they're going to really get a lot of angry letters from people, because Klavan's very popular on there. And once that gets out on Klavan's show, other news sources will pick it up.
It's Klavan, like people who are watching Andrew Klavan's show, a hell of a lot of them are people that are aware comic books exist, but they don't read them. They don't know Comicsgate. This is a new word for me. And the person explaining it is none other than Ethan Van Sciver, this soft-spoken, likable guy. You know what I mean? That's fucking perfect.
He looks like a mall Santa.
There's a reason he goes with Uncle Ethan, and I feel cool calling him that, because he's like, yeah, he's Uncle Ethan. You know what I mean? Like, he's.
I don't know, man. I think these social justice types are really putting the industry in a really tight spot, because if they don't start filtering these people out now, industry's going to collapse, and we don't know how bad that'll collapse. There'll always be some comics floating around, but we saw it happen with the pulp industry, how that kind of just faded away. But now this is way worse. This is ideology. This is politics. People really don't like politics in their entertainment.
And it's especially, you know, what was an interesting, not political take, but like real world, like how much does the real world transfer over? How much should it transfer over into comic books? Should it be a completely fictional world? And we talked about this once before, and it's like, it's fine. It just depends. It's all about how you do it. Remember the Spider-Man 9/11 issue?
Yeah.
There was no commentary. The cover was just black. Remember that? And it was just Spider-Man trying to save people's lives in the rubble. Like, that was the whole thing. And that was a fantastic way of handling it. Like, it's, we want to talk about this, we want to deal with this, but how do you even deal with something? And it was really fresh at the time. And it's just, well, what would Spider-Man be doing? Exactly.
And they raised money for first responders with the Heroes books, where they were focusing on the police and fire department and stuff like that. Those were really good. I bought a couple of those. But what pisses me off is you could see the beginnings of this mess back in Spider-Man, now that you bring that up, when Spider-Man had Obama on the cover.
Right.
That's where a lot of this crap really started, because they were sneaking that messaging in then. And it was a highly political issue. And they can't really say otherwise, because they haven't done it for Trump. They haven't had a pro-Trump issue. They didn't do that with George Bush. They didn't do that with Bill Clinton.
What comic was Justin Trudeau in the boxing ring on the cover of?
Oh shit, I don't remember. I know that.
You know the one I mean.
But yeah.
And guest starring the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, and
he's in that boxing ring. It's
he's in the corner with a big smile on his face, sitting on like the little stool that boxers use when they're in a round break. Like it, it was just why, huh? Like it's the when it goes full retard. Well, actually, hold on. Let's switch gears a little bit to something that is full retard. So I'm reading the Mary Sue today. I'm not going to do anything other than read the title. Fuck the article. Just the title's enough. Okay.
By the way, it's in Civil War II.
Really?
Civil War II was the Justin Trudeau boxing ring cover.
Oh, see, another reason to hate Civil War II.
Yeah, but okay, fair enough. I had totally forgotten that. I just remember the cover. Like, what the fuck? That makes no sense. Why is that even a thing? Like,
well, the best part about it is that under it says choosing sides.
Well, that kind of says it all right there, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but like I thought it was going to be on the cover of something like Squirrel Girl, like some sort of like little comic. You know what I mean?
I knew it was a major title, but I didn't know Civil War. Oh my god!
Just to prove myself here, you know. There it is.
Oh my god!
So here's the Mary Sue article title: BBC Elephant Man remake facing backlash for not casting a disabled lead.
Oh my God! Did they want somebody with Elephant Man disease?
Well,
really?
What
Married Dad, I'm sorry. I don't want trotting out some poor dude that looks like him.
So a guy that's missing his arms, like what? Like it can't be someone in a wheelchair because the Elephant Man could actually walk, not well, but he could. So what do you mean? Just somebody with some kind of disability? Because that's going to bring in a.
Oh, that's so dehumanizing. Like, I'm a human being. Oh my God, John Hurt was tragic enough in that role.
Oh, I know. And that's what I'm saying. If you remember the makeup or have seen the pictures of Elephant Man, it's a tragic thing. Like the story itself is fucking tragic. Are you trying to tell me you want somebody who's actually got really bad deformities to play that role? That's awful.
Yeah.
That's recreating the let's go stare at the freak thing that makes the story tragic to begin with.
That's victimizing someone because you're parading them out for everyone's entertainment. How's that different than a sideshow?
That's what I'm saying.
You're paying to see the freaks. That's what it is at that point. That's disgusting.
Like, what kind of disability were you looking for? Like, if it's an unrelated disability, how does it make sense? Like, it would be like hiring a gay woman to play a trans role. Like, do you understand what I mean? Like, it would just be ass backwards. Like, this doesn't really relate to what the Elephant Man was going through because they don't have the same. Well, they understand general disabilities. So you'd hire a gay person to play a trans character? Would that be close enough by your reckoning? This makes no sense.
Next, they'll want to ban copies of LA Law from ever being distributed or televised because Larry Drake wasn't really retarded.
They had a retarded character.
I just realized you both might be way too young for that reference.
The only thing I know about LA Law is when Dr. Pulaski fell down the elevator shaft.
Larry Drake, one of the bad guys from Darkman, he played a mentally retarded janitor in that show.
Really?
Yeah. And he was like convincing. I thought he was retarded until I saw Darkman 2, and I'm like, wow, that retard could do a really good job acting. What do you mean he's not retarded?
Jack, Jesus. We want to be monetized eventually, so we can
Anusgate.
So we promised a Mormon-related story before we began. Jack, do you want to cover the Mormon-related story?
Let me pull that back up.
In the meantime, there's an interview with Nicole Maines on being TV's first trans superhero on the new season of Supergirl.
Oh my God, who cares? That's so fucking dumb.
Well, she's trans herself.
I don't care. What a waste of my time. I'm too old for this shit. There's so much stuff I don't care. Oh, you're trans? That's cool. All right. Is the show any good? No? Okay.
I've never been a big Superman fan. In terms of reading the comic books, is Dreamer a DC character or a Superman related character?
No, it's one of the Sandman characters.
Okay, is Dreamer trans?
No. Oh no, that's a Legion character. A Legion of superheroes. No, it was like some guy, wasn't it? Originally.
Well, Dream Girl is a character in DC Comics. Member of the Legion of Superheroes in the 30th and 31st century. Character was created by writer Edmund Hamilton and artist John Forte, and first appeared in Adventure Comics 317.
So that's who Nicole Maines will be playing. Okay. The only thing that gave me any entertainment whatsoever
is that she her character's name? Like her real name, not her superhero name?
No.
Okay. Because her real name is Neuronal Shapatan. And she's a Naltorian, which for Supergirl, it makes sense. Their whole shtick is aliens.
Okay. The first paragraph of this I will read because this is so the Mary Sue to write something like this. It's not often that someone can be described as a real life hero before being cast as a television superhero. What?
God, the standards for hero are low. I'm just being myself. I'm a hero.
I agree, but like just textually, what point were they trying to make here in this first sentence? I actually don't even follow it. It's not often that someone can be described as a real life hero before being cast as a television superhero. I'm pretty sure the majority of the soldiers at Normandy were not cast as television heroes. Like, I don't know. Do you see my point? Like, I don't get it. Like, what are you trying to say there? I don't even understand.
Right quick, I have confirmation. Dream Girl's ancestor, Dreamer, will appear in the 4th season of the CW series Supergirl and will be played by Nicole Maines. She will be an
ancestor if you sorry.
She will be the first transgender superhero on television.
The first. See what I mean? Like,
that's an important thing to put on her Wikipedia page.
Oh,
well, you can't be an ancestor if you have no prodigy. And this is a male to female trans person.
First of all, it's progeny, but yeah, it's.
Well, you know what? I'm so angry, and my words are all fucked up.
No, so. I fully get it. See, this is the reason why I brought it up on the Minion streams before. I absolutely love it when people sit there and say like the future is gay or anything like that. I'm like, well, your future has about 1 generation.
Yeah, congratulations on your extinction event. Jesus. All right, so
hold on, real quick. I'm just going to blast off this paragraph here. It's not often that someone can be described as a real-life hero before being cast as a television superhero, but Nicole Maines has never been one to let the odds get in her way. From fighting for trans rights in middle school to being cast as TV's first ever trans superhero, Dreamer, in this fall's new season of Supergirl, Maines is a trailblazer, and yes, a hero at the young age of 20.
Oh, God.
And my eyes just glanced over. Man, fuck you, Mary Sue. How Star Trek boldly warped away from toxic masculinity.
See, that's why I don't get on the Mary Sue, because I'm either laughing or pissed off, sometimes both.
Yeah. All I gotta say is, but I brought it up a while ago. It was back when Mr. Medicare had a big kerfuffle with the honey badgers, and Irate Bear said on Twitter, "I hated the honey badgers before it was cool," and then I had to respond with, "Is it even more?" He put like a hashtag hipster cred or something like that. I said, "Is it even more hipster to say that I refuse to have absolutely anything in common with the Mary Sue, so I can't hate the honey badgers?"
I guess.
I refuse to have anything in common. Like, they could sit there and say the sky is blue, and I'd be like, "Nope, looks really purple to me, Mary Sue. You can go fuck yourself."
Oh, they're so dumb.
Okay, so on to the Mormons.
Okay, so I can show the article. I had to purposely pull up a XXX site so that I can join the group of people that are talked about.
What?
When I screen share. So Marvel will remove anti-Mormon imagery from Amazing Spider-Man. You read that right, kids. Not only did we have that little incident with the anti-Christian and Jewish messaging in X-Men Gold #1, but now we have anti-Mormon messaging. So apparently in this issue, Spider-Man, it's Amazing Spider-Man #4, Spider-Man has all these like decals and endorsements, and one of them references CES Letter. It's a book written by ex-Mormon Jeremy Runnels where he denounced the religion of Mormonism. And nobody caught it because nobody does any checking at Marvel. Editing is apparently a job where you sit around and sleep at your desk.
Cool. Can I be an editor at Marvel?
Right? Like, easiest job ever.
When you're slipping Quranic verses in on Colossus's t-shirt, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. Exactly. That was the X-Men Gold issue. Yeah. There's even a link down here. Anti-Jew and Christian overtones in X-Men Gold #1. that got that guy fired, but this is just the Mormons, so they're probably not going to fire this guy.
Yeah, they just removed it from future digital editions and future print editions of the comic. Like, it's supposed to be a joke panel. If you look at it, yeah, he's got stickers all over him the way the way a NASCAR driver would have stickers all over his driving suit, like, you know, and it's like Marvel in universe companies like Odenberger, Roxxon, and then all of a sudden it says CES letter. And if you don't know what the CES letter is, then you don't know. But it's like that's exactly what he's doing. He's smuggling it, hoping that someone will Google what is CES letter, because the first hit is going to be cesletter.com. And I know because I did. And it's I was like, right, interestingly, because I bother reading about these things. I don't know. I'm interested in lots of different weird shit. Yeah, it's something that somebody sent to, I forget what CES stands for. It's something educational services. It's various like Mormon scholastic and academic resources for teaching and understanding Mormon theology and Mormon history for Mormons. And one guy who's getting ready to leave the church or wants to writes up all of his concerns in this very lengthy letter that he then sends to his CES person, contact, representative, that sort of thing. And
CES stands for, by the way, Church Educational System.
Church Educational System. Okay. And it becomes sort of like a viral thing, because all it really does, and in my opinion, rather tritely, points out a lot of other things that he collected from a lot of other critical sources. It's like, oh, it's very well researched. It's very well researched in that he's cutting and pasting from various critical sources, but whatever. The whole point is that, is it critical? Well, yes. And this guy is somebody who's left the Mormon church and left under not amiable circumstance. He's happy to be gone. That would be probably a good way to put it. And he draws this in a Spider-Man comic, and in his own statement, this is what kills me. I find this baffling. I've spoken with Marvel about my recent work, and this would be Otley who did this, who wrote that and drew it in. I've spoken with Marvel about my recent artwork, and I have no animosity towards members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He said, my entire family are members, as are many of my friends, and I would never include anything mean-spirited about them or their beliefs. The reference,
just link it.
Yeah, the reference was in regards to a subject I am interested in and a personal decision I made in my life. It has nothing to do with the character, the story, or Marvel. Then what the fuck did you put it there for?
That's so dumb. Obviously it does.
It made as much sense as the Quranic verse on Colossus's t-shirt. It had nothing to do with anything. Like, why?
No, but they've been dropping the ball on this for years. I'm wondering how much stuff people have missed in the last 4 or 5 years that's been hidden in the background that has been snuck through. I mean, in the 90s or early 2000s, they had this problem with an issue of Wolverine where allegedly spell check missed a word and Wolverine called Sabretooth a kike.
Yeah.
And it's got him climbing like an ice sheet on the cover. But they had to reissue that and try and get as many copies back as they could from the comic shops because they refused to sell it. Somebody caught it and it made the news. It was a big deal. Now they're just like, yeah, well, so we hate the Mormons. So what? We'll just take it out of future editions. They give these non-apologies and just, but oh yeah, we'll just change that. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see here.
This never let it be said that I'm 100% asshole all the time, just most of the time. The Mary Sue, the person who wrote this article that I'm looking at for it, Kalia Hale Stern, handles it in a rather balanced way.
No, I don't believe that.
Broken clocks twice a day. I am sober.
I'm sober. Yeah, spoken like a drunk.
This seems to me like a mostly harmless inclusion as far as hidden messages go, but it's a slippery slope. I could understand why members of the Church of Latter-day Saints might be offended by it. Well, the media coverage is likely to generate far more interest in Runnell's book, that's the CES letter, than a tiny patch that might have otherwise undergone, included alongside such corporate entities as Odenberger, like I had mentioned before. Marvel was right to remove the reference. I hope that Ortley sees no further repercussions accordingly. Still, considering the sheer amount of art that Marvel turns out, it makes sense that they would have a blanket policy in place meant to prevent artists from including messages concerning their own opinions or politics that are unrelated to the story. There's no reason why Spider-Man should be sporting a patch concerning a debate about Mormonism. And it's like,
exactly.
It's like, hold on, where this is themarysue.com. Yeah, okay. Oh shit, all right.
This lady's getting fired.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Last article she ever wrote.
Never heard from again.
Like she said, it seems kind of mostly harmless, and interestingly, there's a Streisand effect. Like, do you realize you're just bringing more attention to it? You might have just let it go, but why don't they have a policy in place? Because it kind of seems with the amount of work they go through and an inability to kind of search out every little corner of everything, that why don't you just have a policy? Like,
you would think so after the X-Men Gold issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand what they're thinking over there. They are just shooting themselves in the foot left and right. I don't know what they're doing. Like, do they not have a marketing team that's like, or like a, what do they call those? Damage control team to be like, whoa, okay, you guys need to institute this policy so this doesn't happen again. Like, get some consultants, for God's sake. What's wrong with them? Marvel's falling apart.
Yeah.
Marvel's falling apart.
Well, it's not even like little stuff anymore. This is, becoming more and more obvious to people now, and more. It's like they're trying to shut themselves down.
So we are. Jim Healis is in chat, which is awesome. Hey, Jim, how's it going? See, he's far more professional, and literally a professional, which none of us are. I would have been interested to hear his opinions on buttholes. He's just wrapping up work. He might be able to join us before too long. I would have been interested to hear his thoughts on Jamal Eichel's stuff. Like,
you don't need to give us your opinion on buttholes, Jim. That's fine.
Unless you really want to.
Don't listen to this guy.
I am wondering.
Unsolicited butthole. That should be a band name.
That retard could really act. Why did you throw that in chat, Inquisitor? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why is this all like, oh my god, oh yeah.
I was super impressed. I was all proud of him for a minute. I was like, what do you mean he's not retarded? But he's so good at it. You go back and watch those LA Law episodes. You can't tell me that you don't think he's retarded. Should have got an Oscar or a Grammy or something. I don't know.
Did God, we talked through all that stuff. I don't know if I want to get much more angry talking about other things. Just
do it.
Do it. Get more upset. Well, why don't we do a pitch in the meantime? Who's ready to go? I am.
Go ahead.
You're first. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I don't think I actually have gone
first.
Let's
break the cycle, considering it's always been me first.
Well, do
you want to go first?
I could. Yeah, I know. Like, you sound a little taken aback by it. I'm going to pitch something that's as I was telling these guys beforehand. Let me just bring up the comic screen share. Hide all my tentacle hentai.
Why? I made it a point to bring up some porn when I was screen sharing.
I was gonna say, don't think I didn't notice that too.
Let's see. I'm pitching Infinity War.
Ew, why?
Okay.
No, okay.
Oh, that one. Okay. The 90s one, not the new one. Okay.
Again, ew, why?
Fuck you. Jim Starlin and Ron Lim, that's why.
Yeah.
So a lot of people know the Infinity Gauntlet. Man, fuck, man, did you even read it?
I read enough of it. I've never been one for Thanos, man. I think he's a lame villain.
He's not the villain in this. So again, did you read it?
Really? I thought he was.
No, he's actually bizarrely a hero in this of sorts. He ends up being an ally along the people that are fighting the Infinity War. Actually, let's Ron Lim, looking good. There's the fold-out cover. Every single issue, every one of the 6 issues was a fold-out cover, double gatefold like this. The villain is, you got Thanos over here, and there he is, and then Magus over here is the actual villain of the story on the left side there. You got Adam Warlock in the center, and Magus, the guy in the top left-hand corner, is a oh crap. This gets deep into some lore to explain that. He's basically his Adam Warlock's evil twin is the easiest way to say that. He's a dark representation of the things that Adam Warlock did not want. Everybody kind of knows the story, especially if you've seen Infinity War, the Marvel film. What's going on with Thanos, gets the Infinity Gauntlet, the Infinity Gems. The way in the actual comic 6-part series, the Infinity Gauntlet ends as Adam Warlock gets a hold of the Infinity Gems himself and purges both good and evil from himself through the power of the Infinity Gauntlet, so he can be a purely logical being and not do evil things with it. That's where this story starts. By purging good and evil from himself, he also purged his evil doppelganger here, the Magus, who puts together a bunch of cosmic cubes and becomes almost as powerful as having the Infinity Gauntlet. You get all of these stray heroes from old Marvel comics becoming players in this series. Doctor Doom, who's my favorite Marvel villain of all time, teams up with Kang the Conqueror. And it's like, how often does Kang come up, man? He's cool. Marvel Comics, we was Kangs.
A lot more often now with Squirrel Girl.
Oh, God.
Hold on. Kang is in Squirrel Girl?
Yep.
Shut up.
He was an Edge of Spider-Geddon as well as Kang the Conglomerator.
God damn it.
Sorry, I have to dash your dreams there, Polly.
Oh, no. See, the Kang that you like hasn't been seen in a decade because now he's just this watered-down simpleton type of character because they don't understand the villains anymore. So even like Taskmaster, they're all just like silly billies.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the series, the art is fantastic because done by Ron Lim, who's an incredible talent. He penciled Silver Surfer forever in a day, and I was a big fan of that series. He did a great job, and he did the original Infinity Gauntlet and then the sequel, Infinity War. I love Marvel's cosmic stuff, and the first time you really see the cosmic stuff entering is in the Infinity War. They cut it like the Marvel film, I mean. They only kind of hinted at it before. This comic is cosmic as fuck. Galactus is in it. The Living Tribunal, Eternity, Death. They're all of the players, like all the superheroes you see, are kind of like Earthbound superheroes, and they end up doing an A and B story where the superheroes are trying to help out Galactus along with, and then the battle going on the cosmic level with the Magus trying to amass more and more power, where he will have more power than the Infinity Gems can afford him through his collection of cosmic cubes, which are kind of like, they're Infinity Gems is the easiest way to say it. It's a complex stuff. If you want it, this is available as both, of course, used copies of the original 6 comics or 2 different collected editions of it. Both soft cover and hardcover. Absolutely worth reading. It's imaginative as fuck. It's strange. There's wacky stuff going on. You don't need to know the history of the cosmic stuff to get it. So what a great primer. Like if you just want to read like a fantastically imaginative story that involves Galactus and Eternity and Death and all of these, and the Living Tribunal, as weird as all that stuff is, and all of these super, super powered, unimaginably powered characters in a story that runs parallel to a story with all of these superheroes. Yeah, absolutely worth reading. And until Infinity War 2 comes out, this can tide you over with, you find out what happens to Thanos after that, and then see where the Marvel Cinematic Universe takes the sequel to what happened in the Infinity Gauntlet. Hell of a lot of fun. So in short, definitely worth reading. And Jim Starlin, oh shit, talk about a great author. I mean, that guy can write like nobody's business. So yeah, that's my pitch.
Nice.
If I read it and end up hating it, I'll have choice words for you, Polly.
You better choose your words.
Okay, well, here's an idea. Why don't you pick up a current issue of Marvel, just a random one, and you read that before you read Infinity War.
You know, this
or
is,
read immediately after, and tell us what you like better.
this is the same argument that I've been given about Star Wars too. It doesn't mean I'm going to watch any new Star Wars movies.
I know. I'm just saying that it's all in perspective and comparison.
Yeah.
Oh man, the biggest difference you'll see, and it's so hard to put my finger on it, is the decompressed storytelling that happens in comics now, that they're paced for the bookshelf edition. They're paced.
Yeah.
The comic will end in a very weird way, like X-Men Gold, which I'm actually reading.
Why?
Jesus. I've told you, Rachel Summers is in it. Okay, leave me alone.
You hate yourself.
I won't be judged. I keep hoping something interesting with Prestige, as she's now known, will happen. All of the stories end in a way that you feel like you're supposed to turn the page, and there's another page right there. Like, it doesn't end with a kind of like beginning, middle, end, rising action, climax, denouement, conclusion. Like, it just, and even if the conclusion's a cliffhanger, no, it just sort of like ends because the page count has run out. Yeah, it's because they're pacing them for collected editions later. Yeah. That's why they all run with these 6-issue story arcs, because they're planning on collecting it as a 6-issue edition. And it's like, way to screw over the floppy buyers. You know what I mean? Because they
don't care. It's just lazy. I mean, look at like Amazing Spider-Man. I just did the reviews on those, and it's just completely lazy. It just sort of like peters out at the end, and you're like, oh, I don't care about this middle story. And they're just padding. Like issue 4 felt like it could have been completely yanked out of the storyline and nothing would have changed. Hey, Jim.
Hey,
Jim's here. How you doing?
Sorry I'm late, but day job pays the bills.
Right. No, fair enough.
Yeah.
Glad you were able to come on at all. That's great.
Yeah, same.
So for those that don't know, this is Jim Healis. We're very happy to have him here. He's the author of Blue Mamba. Yeah, which is available on Indiegogo. Let me get the link for that up in chat, actually, for anybody who wants to go check it out. And you should, because there's only 5 days left. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what, Monday will be the last day?
Actually, it wraps up on the 5th. So 4th, 5th.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh.
Depends on how it depends on where you look. Like on Indiegogo it says 5 days left.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see, 1, 2.
That's probably 3, like 5 days and 18 hours. Or
yeah,
something
5 days and 18 hours or something stupid like that. Because I relaunched this at like mid-morning, so it probably doesn't count the 5th as a day.
Yeah.
Something that occurred to me. I'll ask a spicy question right off the bat. Are you pissed off that Ethan Van Sciver relaunched Cyberfrog right when you're running down your Indiegogo?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. When he did that, I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, wait a minute. Come on. There's other people running Indiegogos right now, Ethan. Jesus.
But you know what? But you know what? There are many people running Indiegogos right now. Not just, the Comicsgate people. So yeah. I mean, everybody has their audience. So audiences overlap. People are going to buy what they want to buy, yeah, I'm mad about it, but am I really like so mad that that I'm not pissed off? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
we're not mad. We're just disappointed.
And I think you make a good point. It's not like there aren't like overall thousands of backers, and they're not all the same backers.
Right.
The people who want to read Iron Sights and Jawbreakers, the G.I. Joe oriented military comics are not the same people who wouldn't want to read Cyberfrog necessarily. You know what I mean?
Right. But I do think there's a lot of audience overlap because of the Comicsgate movement.
Mm-hmm.
Just because people are supporting things to be supportive, you know. And that's cool. You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of a supportive audience, did you? We were talking about this earlier. Did you see the Comicsgaters show up in the DC live stream the other night that Kevin Smith was hosting?
No.
they're a lot.
I've not paid attention to a lot of the Comicsgate stuff for the last couple of weeks.
You checked out at just the right time then. Wow, because shit's been ugly.
Yeah, and I've seen that, and you know, I still see some of it show up on Twitter, and I see the titles of videos, and I'm just like, gosh, you know, I don't want to get myself into this, because if I do, I'm gonna have an opinion, and then, you know, maybe that opinion will piss people off, and I don't want to piss people off. I just want to sell a comic book.
Right? That's all we want. I want comic books. I don't want drama. I got enough of that in my real life. I don't need that.
Yeah, no
online
kidding.
or in my comics.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So we something that we do on this stream, Curation. We do.
Bringing it back to buttholes. Stop it, Polly.
Poo joke.
Yeah, the amount of times
Polly.
that buttholes came up in this, it's happening by accident now.
That's why it's going to be Pound Anus Gate.
Knock it off. You're being really anal about it.
I'm a little backed up. What can I say?
All right.
Let's just push through this and we'll get it all out.
I have the intestinal fortitude to make it through. It's okay. Look, we pitch comics to each other and to our audience as well.
Yeah.
And I just pitched Infinity War, the original 90s Infinity War 6-part series, to read the kind of like background of it. And I'm a big fan of the Marvel cosmic level stuff. So Jim Starlin writing, Ron Lim doing his usual fantastic job of artistry in it. And then we were just about to move on to, well, we hadn't decided who we were going to move on to. Jack, you're up. The choice is made.
Damn it. All right. I'm actually going to recommend two, because the Jamal Igle really pissed me off just now.
Yeah, we were reading some tweets from Jamal Igle and his thoughts on where the industry should go from here.
So I'm going to recommend an Alterna comic, because they were crapping all over them. This is Trespasser. It takes place during some nebulous post-apocalypse. Something's happened, and this guy and his daughter live out on this farm. And what do they see? An alien. Well, bad things happen, and they start getting plagued by aliens. See, there's one back here. He's hiding. And they end up getting sick because something bad happened. And
is this extreme vagueness because you're trying to avoid spoilers?
I'm trying to avoid as much as I can on spoilers, because if I tell you what happened, it does ruin the story a little bit. You find out in the first issue, but I want you to go buy it. Well, this guy and his kid, they start getting sick, and they're showing signs of radiation sickness. Well, the aliens show up, and everything kind of just falls apart on them. So it was a fun book. It's a small personal story, like a real indie movie, indie horror. And that's what I liked about it, was it didn't have to be some big epic War of the Worlds kind of thing. It was just about this guy and his kid and what happens to them. I didn't think it was the greatest thing on earth, but I thought it was fun. And for $1.50, I didn't feel ripped off. Because, I mean, for $6, I got the whole series. And that's like the first issue of Punisher. So I'm going with that, just because Jamal Igle pissed me off. But I've also got the one I originally was going to pick, and that was the Christopher Priest classic, Spider-Man versus Wolverine.
God, we got to stop overlapping like this. I was going to do this last week, and then we ended up like both. Oh, Jesus. All right.
Well, it's not my fault.
You robbed me. I was going to do this one in the future.
I'm
fantastic
old.
Comic.
Leave me alone.
So no, outstanding choice. Pitch away.
Yeah, this was a great issue. This was a prestige format, one of the early ones they did, where the cover price was $250, which was really expensive. The paper quality has held up really well, by the way. And this is Spider-Man and Wolverine getting into it. We end up with Ned Leeds getting killed over in Germany and discovering a secret of his. And in this issue, Spider-Man does kill somebody, which is kind of overlooked when you go through the comic history of Spider-Man. I believe they've turned this into a what if story now, like they've retconned it, but this actually tied into the Hobgoblin storyline, and it actually does play an important part in that 30-year thing of the Hobgoblin. And it was one of the first times that Spider-Man and Wolverine ever went head-to-head, and it was a great fight. So go buy this.
And the first time Peter kissed Mary Jane. Come on.
Yeah, well, the killing somebody was more important.
Well, no, that's all made moot by the fact that, you know, that he got Mephisto to annul their marriage.
Yeah, well, that was ridiculous.
You keep your one more day thoughts to yourself, you hater.
Yeah, that's not a real thing. Shut up.
It was fine.
If by fine you mean, yeah, the straw that broke a lot of Spider-Man readers' backs, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No. That was the Clone Saga.
No, yeah, that might have been for you, but
you guys are making me feel really old. Knock it off.
Spider-Man versus Wolverine, I bought as a used edition from the endless long boxes at my local comic book store, and I'm like, "What is this? Number 1? Was there a number 2? Like that kind of thing, right?"
Yeah.
I bought it and I read it, and it was great timing because I was. You know how you'll buy a whole bunch of back issues as you're reading through a run? I was just reading the whole thing with Ned Leeds as, spoilers, you know, as the Hobgoblin. And it all kind of like comes to a head with Spider-Man off in Germany doing the things that he's doing. Man, that's a dense story. It's more of like a mystery story than it is like than it is anything else. Like
It really shows Christopher Priest has always been a very talented writer, and some of his 90s stuff I really hated at the time, but looking back on them now as a more mature person, I really appreciate it. And that was, for me, one of his best works was Spider-Man versus Wolverine. And I bought that on the newsstand new. So,
oh man, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. Okay,
right. I was kind of surprised our newsstand had it because that was one of the expensive ones. Like we had the Mephisto versus storyline too. We got some really good books in at that drugstore, man. That was awesome. But I managed to get the last copy of that. I just got over being sick that week, and my mom got it for me because I missed all my comics, and I was all excited about it.
It's an interesting point. Jim, you're in the industry. Do you sort of
more than we are?
Yeah, there you go. So way more than any of us are. Do you think that like Zach from Diversity in Comics, he makes this point repeatedly that there are no longer the those rotating newsstand style comic book stands at the 7-Eleven and so on and so forth, and that is a big part of why kids aren't getting into comics. Even if they do have comics at your local Slurpee shop, they're like $5. They're $6, and if it's a number 1, they're up to $9.
Yeah,
and it's this is a major part of like, yes, the stories are going in a certain direction where kids are like, what the hell, the trans wedding, what, you know, and then also it's just they're priced out of the range if they can even get them. Do you think so? Like because new readers, how to get new readers is always the question.
Comics have become priced for adults, plain and simple. No one under 25 is really looking to spend $5 on a comic book unless they grew up with it. And the availability thing is absolutely a concern because I think the DC getting their 100-page books into Walmart's great move.
Absolutely.
Because big book, reasonable price, put it in front of a bunch of people that have kids. Okay. And you want to get the youth in, that's how you do it. if they want to say, oh well, we can't produce a 20 to 24 page comic for less than $4 an issue, all right, then make it an 18 page comic for $2 and put it back on the newsstands. Put it back into places where you're going to get it in front of kids. And focus those stories on the audience that you're trying to reach. So you're talking about making generic superhero stories, generic save the world stories, generic aliens in space attacking the Earth stories, things like that. And you've got to get them in front of the kids. And I think that's going to be the hardest part. Because even the Comicsgate group, how are they getting their comics in front of the kids? Through the parents, which is a great way to do it, because most parents who are right-leaning, God, this is going to sound wrong, so let me rephrase this. Most parents are concerned about what their kids consume, okay, and so selling a comic book to the children through the parents will probably make a lot of people happy, but from a marketing standpoint, from purely from a company who wants to sell stuff to people, how do I get kids? How do I get my product into the hands of kids? I put it in front of their face. Go to any store and look at where all the toys are. Look at where all the things marketed to kids are. They're right at their eye level. Okay. They're not at the parents' eye level. So the parents can go, I want to buy this for my child. No, they're at the eye level of the children. So the child can grab it and go, Mommy, buy this for me now. And I remember this as a kid, when we started comics on newsstands at the 7-Eleven, all the magazines were at my eye height. And the comic books were at my eye height. So I could see the comic book at the 7-Eleven and run 2 blocks back to the house and beg my mom for $2 to buy the comic book. So yeah, the two things, got to bring the price down to make it reasonable for children to purchase with their allowance if you want to get them to buy independently, or lower the price to the point where the parent doesn't see buying the comic book as a significant purchase, and get it in front of the kids' eyes. That's how I see it. Unless your goal is to sell your book through the parents, and in that case, you might as well go to Scholastic.
Yeah. I say selling a book through parents too. It like that sort of thing works with nostalgia buys for parents, right?
Yes.
Parents will get a nostalgia kick and then say, "Hey, kid, well, I really enjoyed this. You might really enjoy this," and then that's one way to sell it. But at the same time, yeah, you're absolutely right. The price point needs to come down, and it needs to have accessibility to kids that normally wouldn't. Like with convenience stores and things like that, there's tons of kids that go in there and they'll buy little bits of candy, maybe a soda or something like that, put a comic book right up near the front, and make it affordable to be an impulse buy. Absolutely, it'd start selling more. And you know what I think is that Diamond is the one that's holding everything back on that, because it's like you distribute through them and no one else.
Didn't DC, the book that DC put into Walmart, didn't they go direct to Walmart for that?
Yeah. They didn't go through Diamond.
I think that is DC trying to bring back Newsstand.
I hope so.
That
would be great. That's why I think Alterna's price point is right on the money. They're doing it on newspaper for $1.50. You can't really miss, because even if the book sucks, you're only out $1.50. If I get furious if I'm out $5.
Yeah, in the comics,
they are absolutely on the mark for that, and they're able to do that because of the newsprint, because they're reducing costs. And this is why I said comic books today are marketed toward adults.
Yeah.
If I'm 10 years old, I don't care if it's on glossy 60-pound paper or 40-pound newsprint.
Exactly.
I just don't. I want to see pretty pictures and read a cool story. But
they're not thinking like that. They're not thinking like children and how children think. You have to market toward your target, and we need to get kids in this. If they were smart, they'd be doing loss leaders like the True Believer books. And Marvel's got the press power to do that. Release some $1 books, even if they're just reprints of old Spider-Man issues, like the old Marvel Tales was, or X-Men Classic. Sorry, I kind of stepped all over your toes there.
No, you're on the same track as I am. I mean, I think we're all thinking about the same thing as far as how do we get the comic books back out there, and like you're saying, the nostalgia marketing is what you're getting when you market your books through parents to the kids, and at that point I'm not even sure if I would really consider the kids at that point to be new readers.
Yeah, it's going to be hit or miss.
They're like replacement readers,
if you're
or replacement customers, because the parents are kind of on their way out from reading the comic books, so they get their kids into it.
Yeah.
Now that's why I think DC is doing a good move with making Shazam a more kid-friendly movie.
Oh yeah,
because you're bringing that. You have to target that audience. The superhero movies are doing so well. But a lot of them, like Deadpool, that's really not a kid movie. No. So you want to make some kid-friendly movies, which are just more cut and dry, good versus evil stories, but are action-oriented. And then if they were smart, they'd be handing out free comic books at the door. Like, here's some free stuff.
I talked to a couple local comic shops about doing that, about co-marketing with the theaters when the comic book movies come out. And they don't want to do it.
I don't get that. When I was a kid, the comic shop, the only one we had within 30 miles, he was a total jackass, but he went out to the movie theater every time a movie came out that was even remotely comic related. And he did free giveaways before the movie started. He hands stuff out of the door. It's brilliant.
The problem, I think, is comic book shops aren't comic book shops anymore.
No, they're not.
They're game shops with a comic book section.
Yeah,
and so,
or Funko stores
and Funko Pops. Yeah.
Why should they pay an employee or two to go set up a table at a movie theater, at each movie theater, depending on how many they want to go to, and maybe sell something that is not their core business anymore?
Yeah, but I mean, to me, it's about getting bodies in the door. When I was running my shop, we did whatever we could to get people in, and that would mean like ordering a whole bunch of extra free comic book day stuff that was kid friendly that you could give out year round. I gave that shit out on Halloween,
and the local stores here do see an influx of customers every time a new comic book movie comes out. So they're not. I don't think they see the incentive of having employees spend a day sitting in the lobby of a movie theater. And I see that with other businesses that market at the theater I go to all the time. And the payoff isn't there. Talking to the other people that have sat in that lobby to market stuff, even they say that the payoff isn't there most of the time.
The one thing that immediately comes to mind for me is the fact that, you've got DC and Marvel that are really, really big, companies, right? They have the capital, they have the resources to do something like, say, an ambassador program. You have all of these sorts of people, I guarantee you, would love to say that they are at least some way tenuously associated with Marvel or DC. All around the country that would sit there and say, okay, here's my address. Send me all of this sort of product. I will go to the movie theater.
I will relist it on eBay for 3 times the price.
Well, I'm just saying.
They don't even have to pay someone to do it. You just send the movie theater a box full of free
That's what I was
comics
just going to say.
on the counter.
That's what I was just going to say. My local theater has done this in the past with other movies where they'll hand out promotional material all opening weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then they just have to set it on the side, have it a one-shot issue that's all ages. I'm sure they have some back stock stories somewhere.
Just do a reprint of something.
Exactly. Just do a self-contained story like the old Batman Adventures type used to be. You know, you pick up an issue, you got a full story. Kids love that stuff, especially if it's free. The parents will love it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to see a movie and getting a free comic book. There's nothing bad about that.
Yeah, and they need to start doing that, especially if they have kid movies coming out like Shazam. That's brilliant. That's a great kid character to begin with, but they need to cross promote this stuff to make more money in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not thinking like that. They have I don't know what they're thinking, honestly.
We can't even figure out how they're taking like these characters that have been promoted in $1 billion and $2 billion films and then completely changing them and offering something totally different. Like how Marvel Comics is unable to capitalize on Marvel Studios films. How they can't.
Well, the truth is they are, but they're not doing it in the way that they could be. You know, I guarantee you every single time that anyone goes into a comic or, goes to see, Thor, they'll go, man, I really enjoyed that. I think I want to go and check out these Thor comic books. And they walk inside and they get Femme Thor.
Yeah. When you get, let's say another Iron Man movie comes out. Okay. And the movie's going to come out, it's going to be a hit because it's Iron Man. So you put out a 4 to 6 issue miniseries that launches the same weekend as the movie, and make it a side mission for Iron Man that ties into the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great. Like, okay, how did he get this component and have it all about that?
Yeah, and leave it as a plot hole in the movie so that they can go and read the comic book and find out the more backstory about it. So now they just spent let's say $4 an issue. So they spent $12 to $24 learning more about the movie they just watched and got themselves hooked on a character.
And now it's a multimedia experience, so you could package the disc with the trade paperback and charge an extra $30.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not like this isn't a pattern, because God, that absolutely happened with Star Wars, right? It's like it happened with the Matrix films, where it's like, well, how did they even get there? Well, if you read this comic series, they did it with the new Star Trek films. What's that?
A lot of people hate that.
Yeah, there's different ways of approaching it and doing it. I just mean to point out that at least there's some kind of tie-in, that the notion of tying in like a comic book to a film that's coming out.
Yeah.
There's precedent for it, but they're just, I don't know. Are they doing market research at all?
Well, I honestly think that the two, at least in Marvel's case, the two divisions are so separate that they're not even communicating with each other.
Yeah, the left hand doesn't know what the right is doing. Yeah.
If you have if you have comic book characters that are successful movie franchises, your comic book stories need to be what that movie franchise character is.
Which was the point that I made earlier. Like, Iron Man would arguably be the most central, well-known character of all of the MCU characters.
Right.
Like, as presented. Like, Spider-Man, like, he's in it now and he's more well-known, but I mean, like, as presented. So why the hell are you doing Riri Williams like Ironheart instead of Iron Man? It's baffling.
I'll say this. I think I can't even call Deadpool Marvel anymore, even though it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Deadpool titles out there, but a new one just launched a few weeks ago, Deadpool Assassins, and that reads like a Ryan Reynolds Deadpool. And when I read it, I see that, or I feel that in the story, and it makes the comic book more enjoyable for me. I look forward to reading it every time it comes out because I relate it to the character I saw on the big screen.
Yep.
What the only explanation, I mean, because man, I would love to sit in on some boardroom meetings with the purple hairs making the calls. My
blood pressure's high enough.
I would just love to hear the conversation, because you're a guess all day as to what they're thinking, but like you have to guess because there's nothing really obvious about it. Well, are you guys so caught up in making female Thor, Asian Hulk, black teenage sassy Iron Woman, Iron Heart, what have you, like the promoting an America Chavez and Gay Iceman and all these characters, that you're not willing to take advantage of one of the largest movie franchises, like free advertising? Because like you said, separate companies, it's not really coming out of their budget to promote this stuff. Marvel Studios, it's coming out of their budget to promote it. Why aren't you taking advantage? Are you that obsessed with what you're trying to do in terms of diversification or representation?
I have to believe at some level, and especially for Marvel, at some level, there is an executive who either has looked at this or will see this eventually and go, why the fuck are they not making money? or why aren't they making more money because of XYZ? Okay.
Yeah.
Or executives at Disney have just said, we don't give a shit about the Marvel comic division. They can do whatever the hell they want as long as they don't lose us money. And when we get into the comics in relation to the movies, the Marvel Comics division is never going to lose them money on the movies, because the normies watch the movies, and the normies are the ones that give them $1 billion for a movie.
Right.
Okay. The comic, they could literally, on the next Avengers movie, they could literally have none of the comic book fans show up to the movie at all and still make $1 billion. So do the movie people care about the comic division? No. But at some point, somewhere in their hierarchy of executives, there is an executive that is looking at the comic division and going, why aren't they making us money?
If it comes down to bottom line stuff, and I honestly think that it does, is not like, it's an unsustainable thing that they're doing, but nonetheless, they're covering their tracks quite well. Over shipping, price raising in general, and then on first editions, constantly doing events and doing comic book stores are closing down, and they're it's down a given percentage of sales per unit, but then they're making up in it overall. Now, it's not sustainable to keep doing that, but they're temporarily covering their butts. And
I think that's why no one's caught on yet. You know, is they're covering their butts by kind of fudging the numbers a little bit, you know, and it's going to come to a head. Eventually, it's going to come to a head. Eventually, someone's going to figure this out.
Yeah, they're going to have to, because look at the 90s when they tried these same stunts, the foil embossed covers or whatever. It can only last so long before you've lost too many people.
Well, I talk about overships and counting, you know, somebody at some point is going to say, is going to see all of the outlets that Diamond sells to going out of business. Okay. So that means, sales out of Diamond will drop. Okay.
Yeah.
So then Marvel and DC are going to see their sales numbers drop. And so it's eventually going to cascade back to some executive who's going to be like, close that division because they're not making us money anymore, or find, you know, or we can't close that division. They're not making us money. Find a way to make them profitable. You've got a year. And because we're seeing I don't even want to say that they're hiding things, because they're really not. They're just gaming the system. Diamond has set up the system to make it so that consumer sales don't matter. And they fixed that in the real publishing world. And so eventually that's going to be fixed in the comic publishing world.
I think eventually as well, but I hear it, because it's not sustainable, because of the way that they're gaming it, there's only so many times you can play the same. Let's make up for the loss of units by doing these various other things.
Yes.
Yeah. And the loss of outlets for Diamond to ship to in these ways. But what I see, it's further out than I think a lot of other people are predicting. Yellow Flash is like, it's a year. I'm like, I don't think so, man. Like,
I think we're about 2 or 3 years away.
Like, when it's like, find a way to make it profitable. That sounds like, in manager meetings I've been in, that sounds a lot more likely. It's the manager types don't sit down and read a comic book or go look at what's on sale on the retail floor.
Right.
They delegate to somebody beneath them. You need that's your job, not mine. My job's to look at the big numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the response is going to be, as we talked about the last time we were together streaming, it's going to be, well, make it profitable. Okay, so we need to hire less expensive artists, which means like it's going to be lower quality, like, because it's less experienced artists and less experienced writers. And when people need to go, it's going to be the people who are not like-minded that are going to be the first to go. And so it's like, I think that they can
be people that are quote unquote hard to work with.
Yes. Yeah. People that aren't team players,
right? You know, people that aren't willing to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
And the result of that is going to be to stretch out the so-called SJW Marvel phenomena.
And I honestly think that phenomenon has got a finite life as well.
It has to. It can't.
But unfortunately, the finite life means a near-death experience.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that they can kill comics completely before they will decide to move on.
You don't believe? I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. My mic or my headphones kind of cut out there.
I said I don't believe that they will get the comics industry to the point of absolute death before they pick up and move on.
Really?
Yeah.
They'll smell the scent of death and let's go over to gaming.
They'll realize that they finally reached a point where they can't, but where anything they do isn't making a difference that they want to see, so they will pick up and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones that don't pick up and move on will probably get fired, because they'll be the ones that are difficult to work with then.
Because at that point, the people coming in will be more business minded, will be more quality oriented, and they'll basically come in and look at it and go, this is a mess and I need to clean it up. That means you go. And you know, we could see DC and Marvel get down to maybe 20 or 30 people.
I agree. Yeah. And maybe that'll be like the final moment when it happens. But I just think it's a little bit further away than people tend to think that it is.
Yeah, it's not. I don't see it within the next year.
No. They're going to have to fire a lot of people too.
I think Zoe Quinn coming over to comic books is a real telltale sign of something happening, which is just
like
the first seal of the apocalypse opening.
No, I mean that they could bring her over, where it's like this person who had done a run in the comics, in the Gamergate thing, ran an $86,000 actually GoFundMe for her video game. The last time she posted an update on it was over 6 months ago. She's not going to do it. It's not going to happen. If it ever comes out, it won't be anything like it was promised to be.
That would be a Kickstarter, by the way.
A Kickstarter.
Whatever.
She's kind of like done there. And her tweet saying it said a lot. Like the same, I've been used to dealing with these type of people. I know exactly who they are. Like, you know, the women, the people that hate her because she's a woman, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with you being a complete hack at all. And that they were able to hire her. And yes, it was at a DC imprint. I get that. But the point was that there's a sympathetic audience. And yeah, come over here, rat fleeing your sinking ship that you run into the ground.
I cannot wait to see what the numbers are going to be like for Goddess Mode.
Issue 2 is where it's going to be, because issue 1 pre-orders are already in. Issue 2, because of this whole thing with Rodriguez, I think they're going to have a lot of cancellations on that.
Really? Hold on. Let me see what the pre-orders look like then.
You know what's funny? I mentioned this. I mentioned the Zoe Quinn thing to a few of my SJW friends, and all of them gave me that eye roll and, you know, face palm. Just like, oh no.
At the mention of her name, you mean?
When I told them that Zoe Quinn was going to be coming in to write a comic book.
Okay.
And explained to them, you know, who she they kind of knew who she was. And then I mentioned the Gamergate thing and her video game, and that's when I got the facepalm moment.
Her tweets like, I'm happy to be here, and I've been used to dealing with the people, the small-minded bigots and so forth. And I'm sorry to see that they've infected an industry I hope to stay in forever. And I was like, oh God, like, you really think you've got to, like, just.
She won't stay in forever.
No, I don't think she will. But
she will voluntarily leave, and she will say that she was bullied out.
Yeah,
of course,
and go over to esports like Santos did, or whatever, like wherever the next welcoming.
Yeah, whoever wants her next.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's fine, and that is absolutely fine, absolutely fine. I have no problem with anyone coming in, giving it a shot, succeeding or failing, and either continuing or moving on. Do it. If you can sell yourself to a publisher, to an editor, to somebody who will give you a chance, take it. Grab it with both hands and don't let go until it's either dead or you're a success.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is most of these people don't actually have a passion for it. It's just something they're doing.
They have a passion for the activism, not for the actual product.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I do agree with Zach on the whole thing of you're bringing these people in that are not experienced, and you really should be bringing them in on lesser stories or as fill-ins to get to show what they can do and to give them experience before you throw them on a #1 or a prestige title. But Zoe Quinn on her book, on a prestige title, on a #1 is purely because of who she is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And while I disagree with it, I understand why they did it.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes down to money.
Of course.
That's it.
Because
Can they sell books?
Because of her spectacular history and sales?
Well, no.
Brand recognition.
Can DC sell her name?
Right.
Well, it's controversy. Controversy will sell regardless of good or bad.
Yes.
And that's absolutely true. I do think, Jack, that it's an issue 2. I also think it's going to be issue 1. I think her name carries enough stigma that I don't think issue 1's going to sell very well. Issue 2 is going to sell nothing, if even a couple of issues, and we'll see a 4-issue series boiled down to 3.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said issue 2, because issue 1, there's at least like the curious buyers that either want to roast it, or they know the name from somewhere, but they don't know where. They've heard it, or the cover looks interesting. But issue 2 is always where the story, you know that the story has an impact. Either they love it or they hate it.
Yeah.
But that's the same with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I said issue 2. Issue 2 is always really the determiner for it.
We could say the same thing about all the Comicsgate books.
True.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But that's why people are watching them now, because when
Mhm.
part 2 of Cyberfrog comes out, if it doesn't make a third of what it did, it'll be considered a failure.
Well, I noticed that Ethan Van Sciver is very quick to even correct himself when he'll say Cyberfrog number 1, Cyberfrog Blood Honey.
Yeah.
It is not number 1. It is
Yeah.
it's just Blood Honey. It's a standalone because he wants to do whatchamacallit afterwards. Rainbow Brute.
Rainbow Brute, yeah.
I keep on saying to Ethan whenever it comes up that I would love to see, well, in the comment sections and stuff like that, I would love to see him do a trade paperback of the earlier Cyberfrog stuff, because the floppies have gone absolutely insane.
Yeah. I found one in a quarter box the other day, and I was like, I'm going to buy it so I can sell it.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, you flip that thing on eBay for like $200.
You are that eBay guy. My God.
Yeah.
So, Quiz, do you have a pitch for us?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I'm just going to do this here. And, oh no, how did that happen? I just figured I'd show that real quick. Yes, everyone, going back Blue Mamba.
I backed Blue Mamba 3 weeks ago. So
well, you can go suck a dick.
I am unemployed.
The pitch I've got today is written by Carl Kessel, penciled by Brandon Bedreau, inked by Dan Davis, colors by Alex Sinclair, letters by Ken Lopez, and assistant editor Nachi Castro, and editor Matt Idelson. It is
Dun, dun, dun.
Harley Quinn number 20. Volume 1. So this is the Kessel Kessel run. Where he was given, a monumental task of, trying to bring the character from the animated series to the comic books. And I think he did a damn good job. But this is actually the culmination of several stories all coming to a head. The beginning of the Harley Quinn story has her, branching off from the Joker and forming her own gang. And then when her shenanigans in Gotham ends up getting her on the bad side of both heroes and villains, she decides to go to Metropolis and starts fucking with all of the Metropolis superheroes. Which ultimately ends with her stealing some Star Lab tech and trying to fly away from Superman, only to push the jetpack that she's flying a little bit too hard, and it explodes, atomizing her.
The end.
Issue 20 sees her going to hell.
Really?
Where her sole purpose is to annoy the shit out of Etrigan the Demon. It's amazing.
Sole purpose. I see what you did there.
Oh, yes. I love it too.
If you'd worked buttholes into that, it would have really brought everything full circle.
But the culmination of which sends or has Etrigan sending her back to Earth as a spirit, kicking her out of hell. And then her, entire purpose then is to annoy the shit out of the Martian Manhunter, who then calls Batman and Zatanna to come and make a new body for them to cram her soul back into. It's great. It's very, very Looney Tunes. Like when you read everything in kind of sequential order, it definitely has a good run. But I absolutely love the art in this issue. I mean, if you look at it, it's very dark. It's gritty. It reminds me a lot of Hush. But this is Harley being forced to relive this sort of nightmare scenario where they're completely surrounded by Gotham City police, and they're all killing all of her gang, and then she starts up the next day and has to do it all over again.
Huh.
You know, I've got a story pitch about Harley Quinn that I think would be interesting and very dark, and I think very appropriate for Harley Quinn. I would love for DC to come out and officially admit that the Joker is not one person, and they do it in this way. Harley Quinn's always been known for her on again, off again romance, cuckoo romance with the Joker. Okay, but in the most recent run, she's separated herself from the Joker, but she's always had that tie, that drawback to him whenever he shows up. You know, but she's able to resist him. Harley Quinn finally kills him, and she goes through the beginning stages of grief, and it kind of makes her, you know, she thinks she's stabilizing a little bit, you know, that she finally eliminates this thing in her life. And at the end of, we're going to say this is a mini series, okay, maybe 3 issues. At the end, the second half of the last issue, a new Joker shows up, and it pushes her over the edge because she knows that she killed the Joker that she was in love with, but here's a new person that represents all the things that she used to be in love with, and she's attracted to it.
Well, there was that one issue series where an Arkham inmate that was obsessed with Harley goes under the knife and has the Joker's face.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a really good run. I think it was Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti that were writing that one.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But no, like actually have her kill him. Like show it so that people don't think, oh, he just came back to life. And then when you draw the new when the new guy comes in, he actually looks different enough for people to visually identify that it's a different person, but he's taken up the mantle of the Joker.
Well, did they establish that there are multiple Jokers in Endgame?
Yeah, they're having a mini series come out, the 3 Jokers. Jeff Johns is doing.
Yeah.
But I like your idea better because they would never meet. You know, they'd be 3 distinctly different people.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing.
It'd be a mantle.
Yeah, that's one thing I do remember about Endgame is when they were alluding to the fact that there was more than one Joker, they would never show them in the same place at the same time because that would shatter the whole purpose of them being multiple Jokers.
But think about this from Harley Quinn's perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is where I would want this miniseries to play into Harley's psychosis. Okay. How much would it fuck with your head to know that you just killed the thing that's been holding you back, been dragging you down, been always pulling you back to the things that you don't like? You finally thought that you got rid of it, and then it shows up again in another form. I think that would turn her a little dark again.
Yeah.
And I think Harley Quinn needs that.
Oh yeah. Like, okay. I like Harley as a villain infinitely more than I like her as a hero. They've been trying to play up like like an anti-hero angle with her for a while.
Yeah.
I liked her so much more as a villain. Like the whole Kessel run for Harley was really, really good. And they didn't shy away from the fact that it was a book about a villain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that they need to do that again. I think that also it's from a marketing standpoint, at least in DC's eyes, because Harley is such an easily identifiable character nowadays, and she's part of the cultural zeitgeist that I think they're trying to push it for a better sort of tomorrow, if you want to say that.
You know, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm going through this story in my head, and I'm such a movie guy. Okay, at my core, I'm a movie guy. And I try to think about how this would play out with Margot Robbie and Jared Leto.
Well, see, that works for me because at my core, I'm a porn guy.
But what a way to get rid of the Jared Leto Joker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that.
Kills him.
Yeah.
And you could go the origin of the the storyline of the Bat family where Joker cuts his face off and sends it to Batman. So this new Joker, you know, John Woo face off style or Hannibal Lecter style wears somebody else's face, and so it literally looks like him. And his face is removable now after all because he did cut it off. I don't want to say God DC when they go dark though, man. Like Professor Pig and shit. Like Jesus, it gets weird.
Well, dude, Professor Pig was actually pretty cool in Gotham. Like, have you seen that the Gotham TV show?
No.
Yeah, they actually had Professor Pig in Gotham, and it was freaky shit, man. I was surprised that they were able to show it on Fox because they got into some pretty dark shit. Like there's one part where Professor Pig has this captive sort of gathering of Gotham's elite with the mayor and like Penguin and a whole bunch of other people at this place, and then he makes them eat gourmet, made, but meals made from homeless people. Like,
oh yeah,
making them cannibals.
Well, that's not the part that offends me. It's the homeless part.
You know, I understand where you're coming from with the whole, you know, DC going dark thing, but DC, the Batman universe, we'll call it that for simplicity. Batman side is dark DC. You want bright and happy DC, Superman, Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, even then, Wonder Woman's can get a little dark.
She's kind of the middle ground between it.
Yeah.
If you've even read Trinity, the Trinity books,
I have.
She's always
Trinity.
the middle ground between Batman and Superman.
Yeah. I love the beginning of that. I had to get the beginning of that because whereas I'm the Harley Quinn guy, my roommate is the Poison Ivy guy, and Trinity starts with that story with Poison Ivy. So
you guys need help.
What? Because we like crazy women?
Yeah. Well, we all like crazy women. We just don't want them in relationships.
Speak for yourself.
I'll say,
I'll take a crazy woman.
Joker.
I can't. I'm too old for it now.
I will take a Harley Quinn in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I know. Me too. No one can question her dedication to you then, neither.
Nope.
That's true because she's psychotic.
That woman will literally kill for you. So you have to watch what you say.
That's true. No, so I think. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it falls to Jim to pitch now.
Oh crap!
I got an idea what you should pitch.
Well, yeah. Sounds good to me.
Pitch my book.
Well, make me want it. I already bought it, but make me want it.
Oh goodness! Let's see. So Blue Mamba is a story about it. We follow Clarissa. Clarissa's the lead character. Clarissa Dempster is her full name. Former Marine. She got in the Marine Corps, when she was young, and got into some special programs that were designed to move women into combat and to move women into more important roles, for lack of a better term. And she excelled at it. So they put her into more programs that would give her specialized training to do, certain operations, things like that. And just as she was getting to the end and things were going really great, programs get cut. Because when you know it, the American public doesn't want women in combat. Holy crap. And she's just pissed off at this and realizes that she's got no place in the Marine Corps, because if she can't be in combat, they're going to throw her in the motor pool. And so she leaves. And when she does, spends a little time struggling here and there, but she gets recruited by this politician who says, hey, I followed your career in the Marine Corps. I know what you can do. I know what your skills are. And I've got a group of people I've got a team that I think I want you on. And you just kind of clean up messes for us, whenever we need things done. with Blue Mamba #1, we pick up where Clarissa's been on this team for a little while, and she's done a few jobs, but this is her first major long-term type of mission. Like there's more than just it's more than just the one-off. And at #1, she's actually tasked with going after this community leader who thinks that the only way to get their point across to violent, racist, homophobic, sexist pigs is to be violent. And so she's decided to get in touch with people that can do the violence without besmirching the name of the community organization that she's with, and she ends up hooking up with Antifa. And Clarissa's government job, her official day job, sends her off to go and investigate, what the connections are, and to politely make things calm down. When she starts that job, she goes to head off for that task for her day job. Senator calls her up and says, "I know what you're doing. Change of mission. You're going to go there and you're going to kill her." She goes out, gets out there, works the angles that she can work on this target that she's got, and takes her out. And the thing with Clarissa is she's a resourceful person. She understands that she needs to make each kill look a certain way. So she's not serial killer type in the sense that, oh, well, I'm gonna, every one of my victims is going to be in the shape of a cross. No. In some, if she wants to set up her victim to look like they got killed by a home invasion, she'll do what needs to be done to make sure it looks that way. If she wants to look, like an accident, she'll set it up to be that way. She's a very resourceful person, and is more a weapon of opportunity type of a character than just go up and shoot him in the head type of thing. I remember discussing with some friends when I first started writing this book, is like, if this were truly a comic book about someone who about a killer who gets a task to go kill somebody and doesn't care about the consequences, it would be 4 pages.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Clarissa has her way of working her way in, gaining confidence, setting up the target the way it needs to be set up, and executing her plan. But in all of this, we get a warm side of Clarissa. Clarissa's married. She has a beautiful wife named Echo, and they're very dedicated to each other. They got together, and it was, I don't want to say it was an instant bond, but it was, from the very beginning, they just knew that they needed to be together. They knew that they were supposed to be dedicated to each other. And Clarissa, regardless of what she's doing or where she's at, she always makes an effort to make sure that Echo knows that she loves her, that that Clarissa's dedicated to their marriage. And Echo, on the other hand, free spirit, kind of a hippie chick kind of a woman. She loves being the housewife. She loves taking care of things at home. She loves making sure that Clarissa doesn't doesn't forget her sweater if she's going on a business trip, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the planned series, we have that development of their relationship. We have that. You see that dedication in every issue that's planned. Clarissa always makes sure that she makes it home one way or another for date night. And Echo always does things to make Clarissa feel special. And so we get a bit of the killer assassin, we get a bit of the warm-hearted relationship, and in issue 1 we get a lot of this might be porn.
All right, now you're talking.
Well, now you got Jack, you know.
But I did see the scissoring scene. Like, hot damn, man.
Yeah. Yeah. When I wrote that scene, when I gave the artist notes for that panel, all I said was sex scene, make the reader uncomfortable.
Well, he failed. I was comfortable with it. That's
well, because I knew that I knew with the audience that I was targeting at the time were going to be people who may not be comfortable with a lesbian relationship.
Okay.
Because understand, I wrote this, as I've said this many times before, I wrote this comic book for both people on the ideological left and the ideological right to read, because they're going to enjoy different parts of the book, and they're going to hate different parts of the book. So I see people ideological right enjoying the killer assassin story, but not necessarily enjoying the fact that, and the fact that she goes after SJWs, but not necessarily enjoying the fact that she's a lesbian and actually has a healthy relationship, as depicted in several panels in the book. And the ideological left is going to enjoy the assassin story, is going to enjoy the lesbian relationship story, but is probably going to hate the fact that we have a female minority lesbian killing SJW community leaders.
Well, you know, as you were describing it, the ideas that popped into my head is, does Echo know about Clarissa's job?
No.
Yeah, is that going to be a plot point?
Huh. Not yet.
Yeah, I could see that being a major, dramatic plot point.
What is it that she thinks she does?
Clarissa has a day job. She works for a government agency that does, internal domestic terrorism investigations, things like that. And so that's what Echo sees Clarissa doing. And so, and that gives her the excuse for going out of town for several days at a time, because she has to go to different places to do investigations or whatever. And so to Echo, there's nothing off. There's no, I mean, Clarissa doesn't bring her home, or doesn't bring her work home with her.
Yeah.
Weird.
So, hey, Echo, hold this woman down really quick. I need to do something.
Don't check the trunk of the car.
Yeah, don't. So Echo eventually finds out. And
spoilers. Fine.
I don't want to give away why she finds out.
Okay.
Now, do the words body positive appear anywhere in this? Asking the real questions here.
Well, that's issue 2,
Not
Target.
Yet.
Right?
If you have an assassin running around blowing away a bunch of fat people at Walmart, I'm going to buy 2 copies.
No, but
maybe 3. Maybe 3.
Well, if I had her blowing away a bunch of fat people, it would probably take 3 issues to fit them.
Yeah, because they'd be supersized issues.
Giant sized issues.
Everything is a 2-page is a 2-page splash page, because you have to fit the fat people on the pages.
The scooter on page 1 with the arms, and the rest on page 2.
Yeah. No, actually, let's see. We get we explore pansexual relationships in this series. We explore Eastern European transsexual strippers.
It sounds like he's just making this book for you, Jack.
I don't know. There's a lot going on here that you're saying words, and I'm like, well, that sounds interesting. I don't know what's happening, but it's interesting. This could be like when I
goes
watch
to Thailand at any point.
What happens in Thailand stays with sexy Thailand. But this will be like a Serbian film where I'm like, I don't know what happened.
I blanked out.
I would call that a very effective pitch. Yeah, I'm convinced more so than I was before.
Yeah, you'll have to put the link in the description for him.
Oh yeah, right.
I'm just hoping that I can get issue 2 made. So, and the financial goal on issue 1 to make sure that issue 2 got made was 20,000. And we are 7,000 away.
It's really not bad.
So I'm not sure we're gonna make the 20,000 on this one.
No, but you should get close enough that it'll hopefully inspire you to go for issue 2 and try and make it.
Well, I'm pretty sure issue 2 is going to be made anyway. It's just the it's going to be the timing.
Yeah.
20,000 would have gotten issue 1 and all of the stretch goals and everything out to everybody and paid back enough of my expenditures that I put out already to give me some leverage to get issue 2 started right away. Without that financial leverage, it just has to wait a little bit longer.
Right. Well, 463 backers. That's got to feel great, though. That's something.
It's good, and it's a little scary at the same time. I can't even imagine what it's like to have 10,000.
Well, hopefully you'll find out.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Once the first issue comes out, then you get issue 2 out. People have something they can look at, and maybe they'll be more interested in picking up issue 2.
Well, and that's what I'm targeting right now is let's just get this issue out. Right now people don't know what to expect. Unless you saw the 3-issue or the 4-page preview, you really don't know what to expect from this book. Yeah. So I've got, roughly 400 some odd people that are buying this blind, outside of, what they've heard from me and what they've seen on the campaign as far as artwork goes. And the book needs to convince them to come back for issue 2. So the question for issue 2 really is, do I financially do with issue 2 what I did with issue 1, which is I pay for everything up front. I get the book made, then I go for crowdfunding. Or, depending on the demand from the audience, do I go for crowdfunding right away and get the money to then produce the book? I would rather not do that, because to me that's the greater risk for the consumer, and I don't think they should have to take that risk. But if everybody looks at this and says, I can't wait for issue 2, I need to have this now, then maybe I throw that out there, see what happens.
I'd say maybe give it a week or 2 after everything's shipped, and you get the feedback.
Absolutely. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, it could be a great hit, and we could have issue 2 come out, in January, February, or it could be a flop, and this would be a one-shot.
Well, based on your numbers, I don't think it's a flop. I think this is, obviously people want it, so
Well, yes, and like I've said before, they're buying into a concept at this point.
Yeah.
And so I we need to get the book shipped, need to get in their hands, and hopefully they like what they see. Hopefully they feel they got their money's worth and they want to see more.
Yeah.
And we go from there.
This is one question, and forgive me if I've already asked this and you answered it and I just don't remember, but for these sorts of things, when you're planning getting these sorts of things ready. I mean, a comic book is much more different than, say, like a manufactured product, rather than something that you can print. You have access to at any time. Do you plan on doing like direct sell prints? Like if someone was say missed the Indiegogo campaign period of time, that they could go back and buy issue 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm probably not even gonna. I'm still kicking around the idea on if I'm gonna change the cover on reprints.
Okay.
Probably I might change the main cover for reprints. But the variant covers I won't change. But yeah, I mean, if somebody comes to me, 2 years from now and says, I missed it, I want issue 1. Let me see what I can dig up.
Okay. That's really cool. Like that's one thing to me, like, the one thing that I really wish that Zach would do is he would open up the ability to do that for iron sights.
Because I missed like an eBay store after the fact kind of thing.
Well, no, not an eBay store, but just like a like a direct sale sort of thing. Like maybe make a website and just say, hey, come here and add it to a cart and it's print on demand. Because unfortunately, I missed iron sights.
I might do a print on demand store, like partner with somebody who can do print on demand stuff. But for the short term, if you missed out on the Indiegogo, then you're gonna have to pick it up at a convention from me. I might be able to get some of my artists to have it at their convention tables as well, but I haven't asked them yet. But maybe a few months down the road, I'll do either a web store like Etsy or Squarespace or something like that. I don't know. Or I'll do print on demand. But I'll leave the digital version. I'll probably leave for sale indefinitely.
Oh yeah. Because I know there's some people that are perfectly fine with digital copies. I like actually having the book in my hand.
Same here.
Yeah, I always prefer a print.
Which is why I structured my perks the way I did. Which kind of got me in trouble, and I ended up having to go back and offer a single issue perk, which I'm kind of losing money on the single issue perk. but people asked for it, and so I threw it out there. And a few people have picked it up. I think like a little over 20 people have grabbed the one physical copy perk. But I originally structured all of my perk levels so that people would have an issue to read and an issue to collect.
Yeah.
Because if you like having the paper in your hand, you value that, you value that copy, you value that print. And so having one that you can tuck away while you thumb through the other one is nice to have.
Well, that brings us up to we're coming up on 2 hours here, I think, or we're over that. In any case, we're usually supposed to go an hour, but I'm happy to go longer, especially when Jim came on. But I think that pretty much wraps it up. So our pitches were, let me see, quiz was Harley Quinn 20. Jim was, of course, Blue Mamba #1. I was Infinity War 1 through 6, and Jack was angry at Eigel. What? Remind me again.
Spider-Man versus Wolverine.
Of course, right.
And Trespasser from Alterna Comics.
Right.
Some of these guys are just too negative. Like, let's look at some good stuff.
Yeah.
So there it is. So Chris, Jack, Jim, thank you for being here, and hopefully we'll be able to do it again soon. And,
yes.
Thanks, chat, for keeping us company while we were here, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Cheers.
Take care.